Welcome back. So, this
From the
one
first stirrings of
is
life
a
beneath water
special one from my
to the
archives.
great beasts of the Stone
I've been
Age,
recording
to
my
man
videos
taking his
for a
first
good amount of
upright
time now,
steps, you
and
have come
prior,
far.
I have a bunch of
Now
videos
begins
that
your greatest
never
quest
really, didn't have the
from this
ability
early
to
cradle of
do some audio
civilization
mixing
on
on the
towards the
videos.
stars.
And
Be
as I've
kind,
built that
Gandhi
up,
Babu,
I'm trying to
and
overlay
you'll
audio
find
on some of
yourself
the older
surrounded by
videos,
true
which really did
friends.
not have any running commentary.
Keep the Indian people
Um,
safe,
it's very similar to
guarding
the
them with
Mapuche one I had put
magnificent
out
elephant
earlier, but
warriors.
that was
Your faith will
probably
guide
one
you
of
to
my
peace and harmony.
amateur attempts.
Keep
I'll
your
try to
mind
do a good
open
job here and try
and
to
be the change
set
you want
out
to
a
see in the
decent amount
world.
of commentary here. I will be. This is. I will try not to. I will most likely be making sure that a large parts of the video here will be at double speed or even at higher speeds. Um, but yeah, this game is as India and Gandhi specifically, and um, it it was a beautiful land, beautiful setup, wetlands map with abundant resources and abundant legendary start, and I had a lot of unnerving moments in this game. Um, it worked out
This one,
very well
kid.
in the end. Spoiler alert there, but a lot of interesting things happened, and I definitely kept it in my bank to as a worthy um, a game to kind of showcase at some point in the future, which is now actually. So our start position here was pretty good. Lots of lo- we were pretty much on grassland. We settled on top of cattle to get a 3-1 tile immediately. Uh, we had very quickly met up with uh, uh,
This river.
Gran Colombia, who actually was much closer than I would have liked. Met a couple of city states, um, and we were pretty much in the early phases of exploration here.
If
Yeah,
there are no
we met
dogs in you,
Geneva, Ayutthaya, and I believe unmilitaristic, yeah, Kabul in the south. And the plan here was to make a very tall empire. As you will tell eventually, that my best laid plans didn't exactly plan out the way I wanted it to. But yeah, I definitely wanted a religion. I definitely wanted a tall empire, meet all civs, and essentially use Gandhi's ability to have lots of religions in our in the Indian Empire, which pretty much guarantees a very high faith production. That was the plan for the game. Um, yeah, and as far as let's talk about India for a bit.
at his best.
India is not a. I would still put it on the fence of a general purpose civilization versus a specialized civilization. Um, a good thing for India here is, or in any game for the matter, is within Gandhi specifically, is that he tends to be a deterrent, a natural deterrent. His ability is a natural deterrent for neighbors to declare war on him because of the
Who
ability.
deserves more credit than
Like the anybody who declares war on Gandhi gets a double war weariness. So there is a natural tendency for not having war declared on Gandhi. However, we had Grand Colombia towards our end, and eventually we met Canada to the north. But Grand Colombia, no matter who you are, Grand Colombia is always a threat. Cannot underestimate Grand Colombia. So I was really weary of, or wary rather, of settling anywhere close to him. And he was somewhere in towards my northeast. Canada was way towards my north, and Canada also, like Gandhi, he has a huge deterrence against getting war declared on him, which in this situation I
Son,
was
have you
probably
seen the
bad
reign
news for
of
me.
God?
In the early game, because if Gran Colombia wants to go to war, and finds that Canada is not someone he can go to war with easily, he might just decide to go into me. So yeah, so basically my early game was just worrying about Grand Columbia a lot while I was exploring, while I was doing other things. Um, yeah, and yeah, we found a couple of wonders. Yeah, we found Ikil, the cenote, very close to us. We had Samarkand in a blocking kind of a fashion to with Grand Columbia, but I believe Grand Columbia already had a city north of Samarkand. And as you will see, I
No
mean,
man
he
ever
did not
waited.
hold back in settling in towards us. Um, and yeah, at this point, I was pretty much focused on the early game, just trying to survive the first 50 to like 100 turns and then see what happens. Okay. I'm going to move, I'm going to 4x this now. And basically, I'll stop and pause and give commentary on something interesting when it happens. By this time, we had already met Norway, and Norway was situated like southeast, southwest of Gran Colombia. Um, and basically, I kind of it was a little relaxing for me because I could imagine that if depending on how close they are, they would be a better target for Gran Colombia to war into. Um, but yeah, basically, at the choice of the pantheon, I ended up picking the river goddess pantheon. I knew I was going to be building a lot of holy sites, and essentially, what that pantheon does is it gives you two amenities and two housing for every holy site that is on a river, though. And we had plenty of rivers in our area, which basically made it an easy choice. There were a couple of other options here, but I believe at that point, going tall or really tall or as tall as possible as Gandhi is always rewarding.
Writing is easy. That's the
And
positive
that's pretty
aspect.
much where the strengths lie because even with the step wells and the other unique things that Gandhi can build, he does tend to have like taller cities. Um, yep, moving on. It was pretty apparent from the get go that getting any like a golden age was probably out of the question. And once I knew that we are heading towards a dark age, I pretty much stayed focused on that. I did pick the Exodus of the Evangelists policy. Like, generally speaking, free inquiry is always good because you will be boasting things. But in our
We now have
case,
the opportunity.
I was pretty much committed to getting a religion as soon as possible.
Look
And
back
for
over the
me,
past.
getting a religion and then spreading that religion essentially would be give me era score. So that's the game plan I had in that dark age. The idea was to have the dark age pivot into a heroic age later. Um, and essentially, at this point, I mean, I already had like two Gran Colombia cities staring down at us. The plan was to, I mean, he was pretty much friendly at one. Don't remember exactly at what point he became friends with us, but the moment he did, I essentially was committed to keeping him a friend for the rest of the game. No matter what he wants, what he did, we wanted to keep that going. Friendship with him was very important to our survival, even in like the mid to late game. Overall, essentially making sure that that flank essentially is secure from a war perspective. It made planning a lot of things easier. I did hope that he would settle into me, put a few more cities closer to my capital, so and essentially ideally before this dark age ended, because the plan was to like beeline for a heroic age, and once I have that, I would have a possibility of flipping some of his cities. It's one way to get free cities and expand your borders. Again, not the end of the world if it doesn't happen, but it's definitely useful if it does. Um, Also, I mean, at this point, we had like three cities going, and I wanted to put down at least like another three more. Stick to six cities and try to get them as tall as possible, and then see how the game plays
No
on.
hour of life is
But I
without
did notice at this
craftsmanship.
point, like the area, there was land south of Kabul. There was a lot of land there, and essentially free for the taking as long as I got in enough blocker cities to kind of hold that area. Yeah, at this point, I wasn't even planning on any wonders. The whole idea was get holy cities, holy sites, get the religion, and then, think about whatever else we want to do.
Strong fight, you
By this point, I had the religion, and yeah, I mean, pretty much in Hinduism was probably the right. I mean, it's as appropriate as any for India. Um, I picked that out. The prophet. I'm not entirely sure if I was ever concerned that I'm going to get the religion or not, but I definitely had to work for it. But once it was there, it was time to choose what that religion was going to look like. Now, having the river goddess pantheon, typically the adjacency on some of these holy sites, or if not many of them, would not be strong. Um, Really, I'm building the holy sites really for the amenities and the housing that the pantheon gives, along with right the temples and the shrines that I'm building. So really, like choral music, or even Feed the World would have been like the best options. And I believe Feed the World was already gone at this point, so I picked choral music to kind of boost up our culture. Um, I was not really sure what religion beliefs I want to start out with, and I was seriously debating whether I want to pick Watts, either Watts or Gurudwara. And in my experience, I've always noticed that Watts tend to go very early. The AI does prefer picking the Watts, while the Gurudwaras, even if you get fourth or fifth religion, or if you enhance late or later in the game, you might just have it lying around, find it. And between the Wat and the Gurudwara, as long as I had one of them, I would be content. Um, and really, the debate was, should I lock down Watts at this point? However, I considered like maybe a little long term. Since I was expecting to have high faith this game anyways, so I decided to go for Holy Order to get cheaper apostles and missionaries. Just a slight like thinking long term on that play really, and basically make sure that I have some options with my religion. And I pretty much was committed that lay down the line as soon as I can, I will be enhancing the religion and either be choosing what should probably be gone by then, and I would probably end up with gurudwaras if I'm lucky. Most likely, we'll see.
Don't
Um,
reinvent.
Besides that, a couple of like comments here. And at this point, Colombia was already killing Ayutthaya, and he wouldn't stop. And we were friends with him, and he was definitely like on the warpath trying to expand his empire. Canada to the north is typically not a warmonger, and he likes emergencies against warmongers.
Politics is
So
the
there was
art of
always
the
going to be a
possible.
consideration if we want to keep. So I wasn't averse to going to war or having a sort of a conflict with Gran Colombia, but not in the early eras. Not in the early eras when I'm not strong at all. It would have to be like a later thing. Um, so to that end, basically, I was pretty much resigned to Gran Colombia doing whatever it wanted, and we would stay friends with it. Which would probably make Canada unhappy with us, or would Canada might war into Gran Colombia when we would not be partaking in that effort. But yeah, but that the way that was playing out, I was pretty much sure at this point that Norway and Gran Colombia will be fighting or will have a lot of tension and conflict. And that was good. I mean, all I cared about at this point was to just stay in sim mode, just try to find other civs, explore, and figure out how to play the game next. Couple of observations here. Um, like, there was a possibility for a religious push, a religious victory push, because we were second religion here, and it was definitely on the cards. Um, and at this point, all I had to be focused on really is to make sure that my faith production is crazy. Now, a religious victory is not an ideal victory condition for Gandhi, because Gandhi actually benefits a lot from having different religions in his cities. Because each new religion in the city, if there's even one follower of a religion, it gives Gandhi amenities and the follower beliefs of those religions, which means a religious victory pretty much ends up wiping out all the other religions, and that actually hurts Gandhi more than helps it. So, in the perfect world, like Gandhi, in the middle of like at the crossroads of a lot of civilizations, if Gandhi does not manage to get a religion but has holy sites and high faith, lots of different followers or different religions in the empire, actually that's pretty strong situation for Gandhi. If you found a religion, all you have to just make sure that your religion doesn't spread too strongly, and you have an opportunity for others religions to enter your lands, but not dominate them. So there's this fine balance of how you manage it. But yeah, but I'm pretty sure I was thinking about an outright victory condition with religion also. It's always on the table at this point in the game. Um, Interesting thing was like Calcutta at this point. That volcano south of Calcutta was pretty much was intense actually, and it pretty much made that city a huge production powerhouse very early in the game. And that led to some interesting good things later. Um, yeah, and really, I was actually the only thing I was very glad about is the amount of rivers we had in the empire. This is largely thanks to the map type we had, which was the wetlands map.
YouTube is calling the voice of the Problems is no more exactly. People can't find time for it. I saw the house artist.
I wasn't really expecting it, but I did get the Temple of Artemis. And it was, again, it's one of those wonders that as Gandhi, you should always covet. Temple of Artemis, Colosseum, yeah, Huey Duocali, like things that give amenities and even housing for the matter. All such wonders are should be coveted strongly by Gandhi if he wants to go at all. Um, and yeah, it was pretty much guaranteeing that we will have a very tall empire with maybe not too many cities, but at least cities with like all sorts of varied districts. Um, by this point, yeah, I had pretty much Garrett secured my heroic age that was about to come. I had pretty much scouted that entire landmass with the four civilizations, and at this point, I started thinking about putting down cities and trying to get some coastals so that I can build some coastal units and try to get to everyone else or find everyone else on the map too. Um, yeah, and I think there was yeah, I found Galapagos Islands somewhere close to Norway at this point. Um, and yeah, and I think Norway. I believe I could be wrong about this, but I think Norway was already at war with Gran Colombia now, and they went back and forth. I don't think they ever exchanged cities or lost cities to each other, but they pretty much stayed in a like a locked in battle for pretty much the rest of the game. And yeah, Norway had founded a religion. Canada had founded a religion, and we had, so there were three religions out of the five that were actually on our landmass, which actually is a good thing for Delhi, or for India. And essentially, from this point on, it was there was a little bit of micromanagement required for making sure our religion doesn't spread too strongly, or too weakly, or to stay too weak, and it kind of was the fine balance I had to maintain. Um, yeah, and I think I went on to put down a few cities. But really, it was going to be a heroic age play at that point in time, because in the heroic age, I knew that monumentality, Exodus of the Evangelists, and possibly, yeah, I'm not sure what is the third one I picked, but all
I've
those
lived
three
through
things
some
are going to
terrible.
be very, very instrumental in helping us spread. Because we were already started to bank like a huge amount of faith by this time, and yeah, and the plan was to eventually get Mahabodhi Temple, get things that are going to get supercharge our religion and our faith game.
Your offensive defense is everything at its limit. Well, with that 6, that's not fair. You have. The four building blocks. I conclude then this point.
So unlocking divine right, basically I had the option of switching to monarchy, which under any circumstances is always a good thing. But I was switching out of classical republic, which gives me two amenities and two housing in each of my cities. So it wasn't an easy choice, because I'm, as Gandhi, I definitely wanted to keep my amenities up. I did eventually. I mean, it was not that hard to manage, but I had to basically make sure that I had more friends than enemies on the board. Um, and yeah, and by this time, I had a lot of settlers cranking out. And yeah, I was pretty much committed to putting down my coastals, making sure that the area around Delhi was covered. Basically, all the land that I see that's not under any loyalty threat, that a neighbor may not feel that it's going to be infringing on them, was essentially land that I was going to um, basically settle on. Um, I did put one city sort of on the edge of where Norway and Grand Colombia intersected, and that was my sad spot, city spot. I believe it was Madras to the southeast, southwest. It would make me nervous initially because I don't think at this point I was still ready to kind of have some sort of war. I did not have any military. It was just basically I was surviving on the good graces of Gran Colombia's lack of interest in us, for the lack of a better way to explain it. And essentially, yeah, you need a little bit of luck, a little bit of things to go your way, and I mean, yeah, if Gran Colombia at some point decided that we are enemy number one and we are coming, we have to be taken out, there was nothing I could do to stop it. It was we were a dead duck there. Um, and yeah, but luckily that didn't happen, and he wasn't reluctant to war into us or to go to war with us, and we pretty much left him alone for the most part, I guess. Um, Yeah, I think at this point I was also very close to getting the Mahabodhi temple. Although I did not wait around. I believe I had already enhanced my religion by this point in time. Because I had been building apostles, and they were essentially kind of keeping the peace. Oh, one other thing. So, out of the five religions that could be potentially founded in this on in this game, four of them, all my neighbors had a religion. So, really, the other continent on the other side of the map is the one with a singular religion with four other civs, probably. And that's essentially how it played out. So, I mean, we lucked out in a sense, but we had to make sure that our religion doesn't get wiped out by the others. So I kept the game with enough pressure going on. But as it turned out, I mean, I effectively ended up wiping out Gran Colombia's religion pretty much from the game. Wasn't exactly planning on it, but it happened. Yeah, and that's the city that made me a little nervous. Um, yeah, Mahabodhi
In
Temple.
a dusty, bustling
I
corner.
want to make sure. Yeah, I hadn't. I want to think about what the enhancements were. I don't remember. Yeah, it's a quirk of mine. I always like to save my debaters. Typically, when you have apostles, free apostles, or you build apostles, you if you have the option to enhance them, don't just do it because you need the enhancement first. Take a look at their promotions. Generally speaking, debaters, proselytizers, um, there are a few promotions which actually end up being good depending on what you want to do with them. Um, and yeah, it's always to pay attention to what those promotions are. Unless you don't have the faith to essentially get them or to get more apostles, then fine, you can just go ahead and enhance them directly. But if you have the faith, which probably would be the case if you have apostles coming to you, yeah, definitely check their promotions before you upgrade them. And yeah, it wasn't Madras, it was Chennai. That's the new name of that city, I guess.
Roxy might have a good answer for you. Vessel large, may venture. One man's magic. That's magic something. Twist the serpent.
I don't recall if I managed to get a backtrack or managed to continue the heroic age into a golden age from this point on. And I'm pretty sure I was trying for that. Um, besides, yeah, I think I was battling it out for era score and trying to maximize it to make sure I kind of go into another golden age. Because, yeah, our faith production was pretty intense, and I was pretty much sure that I'm going to be building a few more cities somewhere. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much what my thought process was. Um, I'm not entirely sure why I decided to go for a slightly wider play, but generally speaking, if you see land that is settleable, you should definitely settle for it.
The three
Even if
great
you are a
elements of
tall leaning
modern civ.
empire. Maybe Maya is the exception in that situation, or Congo, maybe, not Mavemba, the other Congo. Besides those, I think there is still high value in settling wide, even if you have a core empire that is tall. Um, yeah, the Varu is the Gandhi's or India's unique unit, and one of the best. It's I'm not personally I have never not encountered it as much as others, but one of the abilities is in war. It basically makes the other units adjacent to it weaker. Basically, gives them like a negative morale or like a -5 ability. It has the ability to inflict a -5 strength on every unit that's next to it. It's pretty strong. But I mean, I had just built one simply to get the era score and nothing else. I was not expecting to be using Varus in war. However, at some point there was some mild conflict with Norway at some point in time, um, but it was minuscule. It was not significant at all. But yeah, but the next, pretty much for the next, I want to say 50 odd turns, all I was concerned about was consolidating land and essentially simming up. Um, I know that like the tall cities in the empire were already struggling to keep up with the production needs to build all the stuff that I needed to build. But yeah, that's pretty much where things stood.
Set your course wise. Remember, people recognize a man who always remember. I consider it a
Yeah, at about the time when we unlocked or boosted urbanization, Delhi was already at 15 pop. And really, pretty much every district that Delhi ever aspired to build, it was already on the path to building. Um, we had, yeah, basically, yeah, there was a war underway between Grand Colombia and Norway at this point, and I just knew that at some point in time that stuff is going to bleed over into my lands. Um, at about this time, I Brussels was a city state that had evolved from a barbarian camp, and I managed to soothe them and ran into Catherine, the Black Queen variant of Catherine. Um, if my memory serves me right, I think she was pretty formidable. Her science, her culture, and the kind of wonders that she was competing for actually was pretty significant, and pretty much was a strong late game threat for me. Um, and pretty much at this point, I if this would be a culture game, I think it was very imperative that I um, to found the other civs on the map too. Um, I don't remember, but I think Catherine was the one who had the fifth religion, and she had pretty much dominated that entire continent on the other side with her religion. I don't recall though whether it was her or someone else. Um, Regardless, so because of her heroic age, and one of my main reasons why I wanted to keep the Golden Age going is because our city pressure was already starting to affect Grand Colombia and Norway cities. And yeah, as you will see, eventually many of them went on to flip towards us. Um, and yeah, that was part of our expansion plan. And really,
strategy
like the
requires
way
all that glisters is not.
Norway had settled Skedsmo in the south, it really was like, okay, that city needs to flip and come to us before we can end up putting some of our cities down in that land. It is rich land down there, lots of rivers, lots of like, good spots to put cities down. And yeah, that those cities needed to flip. But if that changed, if I entered a normal era, that would basically slow things down. So I really wanted to keep the golden age going. um at this point, yeah, pretty much all most of my planned districts were already in place, and it was just a matter of time before I ended up getting to them and building them. Um, yeah, this was about the time I believe when I found, yeah, I found, yeah. The cool thing about like barbarian clans is, if you have the right policies in, you will meet city states that no one has met, and you can essentially just insta soos them right off the bat. It's really an OP mechanic when
No
it
somos
works.
Felipe, rey de
Um,
España.
And yeah, we met Spain at this point, and we were not far off from meeting the rest of the other players. And and it wasn't England, it wasn't France who had the religion. I think I remember now. It was, I believe, it was Pedro who was somewhere north of Spain, and he had the religion, I believe. Yeah, trying to think. Pedro was the seventh Civ, and who was the eighth Civ? I don't remember now. But we'll get to that very quickly.
Behold the
Yep.
wonders of the heavens and earth.
Well, and the moment I spotted that wonder, I was pretty much guaranteed that okay, I will be putting a city down as soon as possible. And yep, put the plan down, make it move. I mean, any doubts I had whether I should be going wide or not were kind of out the door the moment I saw that land. Just a beautiful spot. Great spot for a settler.
The more science intervenes,
É uma honra
Right
conhecê-lo.
around this time, we had met Pedro. Was pretty much that continent was like this entire map was really split into two large continent masses, four civilizations on each of them, and pretty much went from there. The only difference is four of the religions were on our continent, and the rest, and then one other was on isolated on the other continent.
the four
Um,
characteristics of
yeah, by this time, um, our loyalty pressure was strong enough that we were going to be flipping a lot of cities towards us. It all really depended on what age the respective civilizations would be in. As long as we stayed in the golden age, we pretty much were maximizing the odds of that happening. Um, a large part of this, at that Yulong base settle sort of was delayed inevitably because like right about not on the spot where I wanted to put the city on, but like very close to it, there was a then there was a barbarian camp spawn like right then, which completely threw my plans for a loop for a bit. It delayed things, but not by a lot.
him that overcomes.
Um, but I did end up having a city spot in that location. It actually became it was a pretty good city spot overall. Um, and by this time, I was already planning on putting down my cities down towards southern coast of the land. And Skedsmo was well on their way to flipping towards us. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe some other more cities from Norway actually flipped to us, or we ended up in our empire eventually. But yeah, the plan sort of was coming together here. I still wasn't entirely convinced what my victory condition is going to be. Um, pretty sure that honestly, right now I don't even remember unless I watch my own videos and see what actually happened. I don't remember what kind of victory I ended up winning here. But I know for a fact that this game was so good that I had multiple things on the table. I could have taken the game into many different directions, and it would have still panned out well. That's the kind of game this ended up turning out to be. Just good overall, very well laid out. Um, yeah, and like Delhi, I don't remember the exact population count Delhi ended up at the end, but it was pretty good.
Your opinions are always.
Yeah, as my settler was basically moving in closer to the city spot, I needed to put near the Huolong Bay. I remember starting to panic about this, and I ended up buying a musketman there. And essentially, that musketman's job was just singular, just to remove that whole camp, um, clear it up. Um, I think at this point in time, the area, like Skedsmo, had flipped to us, and we pretty much had secured the area south of Kabul. In fact, it was pretty much that Kabul was surrounded by Indian cities completely. And there was still like cities to the general southwest area from the Indian borders, from that were Norwegian cities, and pretty sure it upset. nor there was definitely conflict and friction on along that line there. But by this time, Canada and Grand Columbia, not only were we friends with them, we were actually allied with them. And I'm pretty sure I had a military alliance with Grand Columbia by now, which pretty much guaranteed that if anything goes and happens towards Norway, Norway will never be a friend because of that alliance. But if any sort of war happens, we also have an opportunity to push units in. Um, and I believe what the city next to Skedsmo definitely fell to us at some point in the late game. Don't remember when. But yeah, but at this point, we were also like close to basically like the dual thing, right? Meet all the civilizations on the map and make and circumnavigate the entire globe. And I think both these targets were pretty close to achieving for Gandhi. Um, yeah, it's around like the river system in the south was pretty strong, and pretty much planning for where to put the right holy site and where to put step wells was pretty much the main thing. So step wells need to be built on rivers, and they give food and faith. I think they give food, but they give you additional faith and food based on how many holy sites it's next to. So it's like a very similar synergy, sort of, to how aqueducts give it for Khmer for holy sites, but like with step wells in this case, which are a tile improvement. Um, does tend to create some challenges if you want to put some tight districts down, and essentially, if holy sites are part of that tight configuration, you may not be able to build too many step wells, but they're a pretty decent improvement to have. Yeah, with that, I think I'll call this hour and change. I think, um, yeah, to an end, and we'll continue off in the next video. Basically, will be more of the same. I will definitely keep it at 4x speed. Try to kind of go through the boring stuff, so to speak, and try to put my commentary in as much as I can, trying to explain away as much as I can. Yeah, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please like and subscribe for updates on my games. And if you're already subscribed, my heartfelt thanks to you. Thank you.